Thomas loved to listen to the music of the stream outside his house. In fact, he totally enjoyed the natural landscape, and he used it in every way he possibly could. He loved the countryside in the same way that all small boys love it, as a place to play wild games and pretend to be soldiers and explore and charge about. He loved to take his dinner out into the hedgerows and eat it with a relish that needed no sauce. But alongside his games, he also loved nature. He was fascinated by it. He had an endless curiosity about it. He studied the birds and their nests, their eggs and their young. He loved bees and spiders. In fact, the only creatures that he didn't like were wasps, which he seemed to have killed with gay abandon. He was troubled by hunting, though he liked the hounds, but he hated hare coursing with a passion because the victim was so defenceless. He loved fishing. In fact, he loved fishing so much that he would stay on the river until late in the evening, when he'd be summoned by his father, who, he writes, would whistle so loud through the finger and the thumb that in the still hours of the evening it might be heard echoing up the valley of the Tyne to a very great distance. To be honest, I think he must have been a bit of a worry to his parents. He says that from early in the morning until night time, he was scarcely out of action, either good or bad. Sometimes, for example, again, early in the morning, he used to set off across the fields, stark naked, in imitation of the savages in Robinson Crusoe. And he tells terrible tales of riding vicious and unbroken horses bareback and driving cows over the banks into the river to see if they could swim. And at school, he seems to have been a bit of a tearaway. He went to school here at Mickley first of all, just up the hill from Cherryburn. It wasn't much like this school, Mickley First School, which is here today. In fact, there probably wasn't an actual school at all. Lessons were probably held just in an ordinary house. Thomas's first teacher was a ghastly man who beat his pupils constantly, but still couldn't keep them under proper control. On one occasion, he ordered Thomas to be punished by a method called hugging, which meant that he was lifted up onto a big boy's back who held his arms over his shoulders, while his posteriors was laid bare, ready for the switch or the toe. No way, not Thomas. He bit the big boy on the neck and he kicked the teacher on the shins with his iron hoop clogs, and he ran off. He was scared to tell his mum and dad, so for a while he played the wag. He played truant, hiding all day in a nearby wood and coming home with his more obedient schoolfellows in the evening. So eventually he changed schools, and he went to be taught by a man called Christopher Gregson, who was the vicar of Ovingham, just across the Tyne from Cherryburn, and who took pupils in the vicarage. This is the scene of his schooling, Ovingham Vicarage. It's a beautiful house, but when he first got here, he didn't seem to have got any better. He was always in trouble. Bewick in fact says that my time in school and at home might be considered as a kind of warfare. Punishments of various kinds had been inflicted upon me to little effect. But then the Reverend Gregson had a really cunning wheeze. Instead of beating him, he was nice to Thomas and invited him for tea and showed him the greatest kindness and talked to him about being good. It worked like a dream. Thomas wept and fell into floods of tears, and from that moment on, he was good.